What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new edition of Hop Talk, and this is a special series where we're meeting the Hop LA team. We're sitting down and chatting with my boy, Conrad Ytuarte. Did I get that right?
That was very close. Well
Nice.
done. It's an impossible last name.
Yeah, so Conrad, the audio engineer, the audio god, as I like to say, behind the scenes of Hop LA, making all of our audio possible. Thanks for joining me today, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the opportunity to hang and chat.
Before we jump into you and learning about what you're all about, give me a little bit about what you're drinking right now.
All right, yeah. So Timbo Pils, it is a West Coast style Pilsner with Mosaic hops. It's there. Like, you definitely have that flavor profile of Mosaic hops that's kind of forward, but it's still subtle enough to make it a Pilsner. Super refreshing, easy drinking summer beer. Good one to start your afternoon out with because, you know, ABV is a little lower. I think it's like a 5.8. So Pilsner wise, you know, solid ABV. I love this beer just because of how clean it is, and it's kind of a departure from some of the more bold flavors you might be getting from Highland Park, and it's a pleasant little afternoon beer for sure, and that's why I chose it for this.
I want to get into a little bit about you and your journey into craft beer a little bit.
Sure.
So I know that you're not originally from LA, transplant, right? So
that's correct.
Take me back to before LA. Like, when did you get into craft, and how did you get into this whole thing?
I grew up in Minnesota. Their craft beer scene has definitely taken off, like a lot of, you know, major metropolitan areas around. Back then, it was like really Surly was the only brewery around that was really recognizable in a modern sense. But after getting through college and eventually transferring to Arizona, where the beer scene was still kind of, this was around 2007, 2008. Finishing college there wasn't much of a beer scene. When I moved to LA in 2008, it was starting to really pick up, and Stone was one of the big ones in the beginning that I had just randomly, you know, walked into a bottle shop and I was like, what kind of beer could I get to really, you know, represent Southern California right around 2008, 2009. And the guy told me to grab a bottle of Arrogant Bastard. So that's one of the first craft beers that I dove into from California, and it was very surprising. I had never tasted anything like that ever in my life when it came to beer. I actually did not like it on the first sip.
Right.
I didn't want to waste it because it's an expensive bottle, and it was like, all right, this is worth something. They keep making it. So I powered through, and I don't know if it was the ABV or what, but halfway through that bottle, I really started to come around to the flavor, and I really did start to enjoy, you know, the complexities of that beer. And I think that kind of ignited something in me that carried on for many years. Fast forward a few to more recent times, and there's so many craft beer bars around, or, you know, still hopefully hanging on.
Yeah.
But there's so many that my wife and I would go to that had endless amounts of rotating taps of amazing local beers, and one of them being Local Peasant up here in Sherman Oaks. And they're always very knowledgeable about, you know, what kind of styles you might like and point you in the right direction of a beer you could try. And that is when things really took off for craft beer for me. I mean, like that. Yeah. That opened my eyes to a whole world of things that I didn't even know existed. And then, you know, my wife and I kind of started that journey together. When we would be making travel plans, it would be like, all right, what breweries are we hitting along the way, you know, depending on where we're going. And
yeah,
San Diego became a big time destination for us right away because of the density and how, you know, widespread all of the breweries in San Diego are. And it was a really exciting time to start exploring the craft beer scene, and you start to see all these places pop up and people are talking about it. You get recommendations from friends on places to go check out. And I think that's another part of it that I was drawn to as well, as more of like the community aspect of it and just making friends and, you know, meeting new people that have awesome recommendations for you. And that became a really kind of like the thrill-seeking part of, if you could call it that, the thrill-seeking part of the beer scene, where you're looking for that next place, like before they blow up. And if they do blow up and get so popular that, you know, it's hard to get a seat at the bar, or nowadays get a 4-pack at a curbside pickup because they've sold out in 5 minutes,
Right, right.
things like that.
Yeah.
But
I think there's still an element of that magic today, but it's just different, right?
it
Like
is absolutely,
there's
yeah,
so other than
totally.
arrogant bastard in the early days, was there anything either from Minnesota or Arizona, like anything from your very early like forays into craft that kind of stood out to you?
Surly Hell was a go-to for me. I would
Yeah,
constantly be in search of Surly Hell. Sierra
yeah.
Nevada was one that I would always reach for at the grocery store. Arizona, there really wasn't much going on at the time in Arizona.
Where were you in Arizona?
I was in Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2007, 2008, I was just drinking whatever they had available on tap at the bar. Craft beer wasn't out there yet. I didn't really know
Yeah.
what I liked and what I didn't like yet, which was kind of an interesting thing to kind of look back on and think. I didn't even really know what I was drinking then. It was
Right.
more like just getting together with friends and drinking the beer for the after effects more than it is now, where we kind of
For
enjoy
sure.
it more for the flavor and
Yeah.
all the things that go with it.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, look, choosing a beer because it was 7% versus 5%, and now it's kind of the opposite. Like, oh, I'd rather have that. Like, I'd rather have that 5% beer. You know.
Yeah,
No,
sorry,
Phoenix has turned into a pretty cool beer scene lately.
it has. And
Yeah.
actually, my wife's family lives in Tucson. And Tucson's
Okay.
got some cool stuff going on too.
Yeah.
There's a couple places out there I really like, and there's a bottle shop by the name of Arizona Beer House. Always has stuff from all over the country. Of course, they keep some local stuff on hand. I think there's a brewery in Flagstaff called Mother Road that I really like. Their stuff's
Mhm.
so good. I always gotta find it
Yeah.
out there.
So, the reason why we're talking today is, like I mentioned before, you're the audio god. So did that, was that what you went to college for? Is that what brought you out to LA?
Sure. So that was part of it. Initially, I was in school for music and music business,
Hmm.
and a lot of my friends would get together. We would play music. We found our way into, we just kind of stumbled upon engineering because it's like if we want to record something, you got to find a studio and pay somebody, or we got to find out a way to do this ourselves. And we
Yeah.
were doing it ourselves, and had little Tascam multi-track setup where we would be recording acoustic guitar and mandolin and stuff. So kind of like started to sound a little bit like some early Led Zeppelin stuff. It was sort of fun.
That's
But
dope.
that ignited a curiosity for me that I wanted to see through. So when I moved to Arizona, I continued my education at an engineering school that specialized in audio for live sound, post production, and music production. So that was really a whole new level and chapter of that
Huh.
journey of finding out more about audio. People may not find it as fascinating as I do, or maybe you do now. I don't know, but it was eye-opening, and it was a really cool experience, and it helped me kind of get my feet into LA and get an internship and a placement at a recording studio in LA that sadly now has had to close its doors. But
Damn.
back when they were still around, they were doing really, really cool stuff. They were once like part of the set for The Voice before they got their big arena set, which ironically came full circle because I work on that show now for my day job. But they had like video shoots over there all the time. Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers claimed it like as the most superior sounding studio for drums that there is available, just because of how big it is. It's closed now, but it's called the Ocean Studios Burbank if anybody's curious and wants to go look at some pictures. It's got one of the most impressive control rooms and a military quarter-inch patch bay. None of this probably makes any sense to anybody, but it's what like the audio community would contest or hold up as like a Bentley of recording studios. It's just a badass place, But yeah, that I guess in a roundabout way, I hope that answers the question. But it became a shift from music to more post-production focused things as a means of making a living.
When you're not working on feature films and TV shows and things like that on the audio side of things, and you're not cracking open cans and chugging them on Instagram like you always do. No, I'm just kidding. But when you're not drinking beer, what do you do for fun?
This might be assumed by many, but being from Minnesota, I love to play hockey. I watch hockey. I play hockey. I have a full set of ice and roller gear. So again, before the global pandemic happened, I was getting up on Sunday mornings about 6:30, 6:45, and going out to the rink to skate with guys, and we just do our own little like pickup scrimmage type thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I never joined a league out here. I was getting way more back into it and playing more hockey again. And then the pandemic hit, and guys are like, "Hey, we were doing so good, we were really starting to click, and then we were going to put a team together." And that kind of dovetails into what I also like to do when I'm not working on, the day job stuff for audio post-production, where I spend most of my time working as a project manager for a studio and some of my spare time doing freelance work with you and with others. And when my boss can give me the green light on things that are not a conflict of interest for film, like indie films, that's kind of what I spend my time doing, which I guess is also work, but I enjoy it. And music when I can. I've been trying to get more into it. Other than that, it's, like hiking. Love to find a good trail out in LA and go hiking, just hang out with friends when we're allowed to do such things, and video games.
Yeah.
I've got a Nintendo Switch that's occupied some of my downtime while this pandemic's been happening.
On that note, we're going to jump into rapid fire. You ready for it?
All
I'm
right.
not going to give you a lot of time to think about it.
Okay,
So,
okay.
first one up is easy. A little softball for you. Favorite beer style?
West Coast IPA.
Got it.
Yeah.
Next one, this might be harder. Favorite beer of all time?
Oh, my God. All right. That's a lot of pressure.
Everyone's got one.
Somebody's going to be watching and be like, that's such a stupid beer.
That doesn't matter, though.
I'm going Russian River, but I might not go the direction you think.
Oh, I know where you're going.
It's a little bit more recent, but it blew me away. Happy Hops is like, it's like on, if I had to pick one right now, it's Happy Hops from Russian River.
Nice. Yeah, I remember we talked about this a little while ago.
Yeah.
All right, this one might be a little bit difficult. I have one of these, but I feel like I'm kind of weird in that way.
Okay.
Most underrated brewery.
Ooh.
LA or otherwise.
Okay. I might have to go otherwise. We're also saturated with LA that we have our own opinions about LA brewery. I got two in mind, but I'm going to have to pick one. Fall Brewing in San Diego. I really love. I don't think they get enough recognition. I miss that place so much. I go up and down that tap list when I'm there, and I think I might drink every beer on the menu and then, take some stuff home. I miss it. I can't wait to go back and visit again. And yeah, I'd definitely say Fall Brewing in San Diego. North Park, amazing place.
Yeah, I agree. That place is underrated in terms of, from our perspective in LA, because their beer really doesn't make it up here.
Nope, not at all.
Down there, I don't know. Maybe it's underrated, maybe it's not. But I agree with you. I think that Fall is it's one of my favorites in San Diego. It's top
Nice.
3 or 5, top 3 probably. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you're right. Love that place. Can't wait to go back.
Yeah, same here. Okay, so the next one is, what beer in your fridge or in your cellar are you most anxious to open?
Oh, okay. This is easy for me because I've been sitting on this one for so long. I have a bottle that you gave me that I'm anxious for. I would put that in second place, no disrespect. But
No
I
worries.
have a bottle of Coffee Mate from Monkish sitting in my fridge right now, and I've never had it. I don't know what to expect, so I guess you could say I'm anxious about it because I love.
It's a coffee stout, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's a coffee stout. Yeah. It's
Got it.
Coffee Mate M8, M and the number 8. But it's
Got it.
it's got this beautiful artwork on it. It looks like a stained glass window out of a Roman Catholic church. And I've talked to a couple of people about it that are huge Monkish heads that are like, oh, dude, do not sleep on that beer. And I'm like, I kind of just want to wait. I don't know. I'm waiting for the right moment of inspiration to open it up, and when I get one of these stout cravings again, I'm gonna definitely, I'll consider it. I have a couple others that are in the fridge too that I could go to.
Yeah.
But that one's at the top of my list that I am anxious about for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've been cellaring beer for a little while, I guess since 2011 or 12-ish. And I've screwed up so many bottles, improper storage and holding on to them for too long. I know coffee doesn't age well, not in the fact that it'll go bad, but coffee degrades over time. It just kind of disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you hold on to that, the less coffee you'll get out of it.
Good
So
call.
now I'm kind of when I see coffee, and I still have some, and I'm
Yeah.
not following my own advice, but if that one's the top of your list, I'd put it like I'd open it in the next few months for sure.
I've had it. I think I've sat on it for like 3 months, so
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
yeah, you're good.
I'm ready. I'm ready to open it soon.
Yeah, you're thinking about it almost every day.
Yeah, every time I open my fridge, I'm like, there you are. I'm got my eye on you. It's
All right,
calling.
so
It's calling to me, Gary.
I'm gonna swing on the opposite side now. You get a beer, you're excited about it, you crack it open, you pour it out and take that first sip. It's not living up to your expectations. In fact, you're not into it at all.
Okay.
What do? You dump it or do you power through?
Oh, that's a tough one. My gut is I dump it. I'm trying to do my best to keep in shape these days, and there's a lot of empty calories in beer. I love beer, but I can't justify drinking a beer if I'm not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If I'm at a party setting and it's a beer that has got other motives behind it, I might power through, but chances are I'm probably going to dump it.
So we kind of touched on this a little bit ago. How do you prefer your hazies? Thick and creamy or bright and juicy?
I might take a little bit of a different path here. I like the profiles you threw out. I like both of them a lot. I like thick and creamy, but I like the hop complexity. I don't want like a hop burn on my beer necessarily, but I like something that's gonna kind of hit me in the face with some flavor. It's not afraid to like remind me of what hops they used or how much they used. Before the haze craze took over, I was seeking a little bit more of a bitter palate West Coast IPA, and I would enjoy beers that my wife would not. And she would instantly reject it and say that is way too bitter. Why do you like that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm weird. I like that bitterness profile to certain hops. So thick and creamy, yes. Bright and juicy, I'm not as drawn to that. It's reminiscent of orange juice to me when I'm drinking a bright and juicy hazy. But I think I would gravitate more towards thick and creamy, more on mouthfeel, more on flavor with hops, and that's what really wins me over when I'm drinking a good haze.
And then if we're kind of swinging on the West Coast side of things, are you more of the like kind of bright and tropical West Coast, or are you more of like the dank and resiny West Coast?
Dank and resiny. Yeah. All the way.
I'd say dank and resiny is like more old school West Coast.
Yeah.
And like that bright tropical is like a new school West Coast, like
I don't
juicy
mind.
Almost.
Yeah, I don't mind those. Like if the situation calls for it, like a nice pool beer, bright and juicy and tropical all day. And you said bright and tropical. I slipped back into the hazy tasting notes of the juice. The lines do kind of blur, like you said.
That's
like
what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's a brewery in San Diego called Pure Brewing. They just released a beer called Pure West, which is an unfiltered West Coast IPA. And that's it's similar to what you're talking about, where the lines kind of begin to blur a little bit, where it's not really a hazy, it's kind of a West Coast IPA. But to answer your question, the old school dank and resiny flavors are definitely what I'm after when I'm looking for a good West Coast IPA.
And then last question, and we're going to kind of fast forward, get in the time machine a little bit. We're in coronavirus time, and airfare is at the lowest we've ever seen it, and travel pricing is just so damn low. It's hard to predict anything, but most beer people are looking at, where's my next destination? Where am I going? So is there anything on the top of your list? It's like, here's a place that I really want to go once things pick back up again.
Yes, there is. I'm going to meander around this question for a minute, but then come back and answer it. But there's a lot of local spots that I want to go back to. There's a lot of regional spots that I want to explore for the first time. But there's also international destinations that I'm really interested in, just as a beer lover. I want to make my way back up Central Coast and go to places like Alvarado Street and keep going and hit Great Notion and Portland, Oregon, and all of that. But if I had a ticket in hand today that was gifted to me, I'd probably make the trip to Berlin. I think I would have to do it. I mean, it's just like, it's like a beer mecca, you know, like I would want to just see some of those older styles in their original habitat, you know, before beer kind of took over the world. And I would have to put, Germany is on my list for sure. But don't get me wrong, I don't want the thrill of an international trip to overshadow how excited I am about local destinations and regional destinations. I think that easy trip for us being in LA, obviously I'm going back to San Diego as soon as I can.
Yeah.
And then back up the coast.
And as we close out our conversation today, any final words from you? Anything that you've been thinking about in regards to beer or anything else?
Off the top, just gratitude, basically. Been trying to practice more of it lately. Grateful for you, grateful for what you're doing for the beer community, for Hop LA, and the community and the team that we've put together and the outreach that we have. And I love hearing from the beer community. I love hearing from people that are trying beers for the first time, that are just new to the craft beer scene, that may be a little overwhelmed by all of the multitude of options since craft beer is so ubiquitous now. So, I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. And I think that's something that you and I touched on when we first met is the community building and the feeling of belonging to something that's kind of different in a way. It's not, sure, alcohol is meant for intoxication, but craft beer is kind of different in that way, without sounding too high and mighty and snobbish, I guess, about it, is that it's a way to enjoy at a deeper level and connect with people and find common ground and things that you share in common, and the conversation and the friendships that are born out of beer. That's kind of what drives me with what we do, and why I was instantly attracted to the craft beer scene and the community in the first place. I'm thinking about that kind of stuff often these days because I miss my people, I miss those loud tap room, and I know that we're going to get back there one of these days soon. So, with that, I want to make sure everybody that does have the opportunity to see this video, you're staying safe, you're doing the right thing, and let's get through this stuff together and have a amazing 2021, right? Because what's left of 2020 looks looks dicey.
Follow Krad's Craft Beers, my boy Conrad.
Thank you, dude.
Thanks for telling us your story, man. I love it.
I appreciate the time. Appreciate you, Gary. Much love for Hop LA.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, dude. Have a good one.
You too.